Hello, wandering soul. Draw the quilt up to your shoulders and let gravity settle your limbs. Feel the mattress cradling each vertebra, the coolness of pillowcase against cheek, the hush between one heartbeat and the next. Breathe in gently, a hold, breathe out slower still, as if your exhale could dim the lamps of the world. Where are you listening from tonight? City balcony lit by neon. Suburban bedroom rinsed in cricket song. Mountain hostel where wind nips at window panes. Wherever your coordinates lie, they are welcome here. This tale is older than every border and kinder than every clock. If sleep steals you midway, let it. Deep time will keep speaking. You may drift back at dawn and spiral down the sentence where dream, dust left its bookmark. Feel the room contract into safety. Curtains breathe, floorboards cool, distant traffic fades to a seashell hush. Outside, the planet rolls beneath constellations that once guided caravans, sailors, and nomads you have never met yet secretly remember. Inside, your eyelids grow heavy, heartbeats slow, and the chronicle of 3 million years opens like a silent theatre. Before stone, there were shadows long before any tools split marrow or sparked hunt, songs. Earth rotated through a night so dense with stars it seemed bright as fire. 7 million years in the past, equatorial Africa lay beneath rain-fat clouds, rivers braided through emerald woodland, thunderheads muscled the horizon. No town clocks chimed here, no shoes scuffed dust, no radio stitched distance. Only frog chorus in swamps, cicada rhythm in the canopy, and the low, hoarse cough of a leopard padding through understory gloom. High in a strangler fig, a troop of ape-like mammals rested, small bodies wedged into branch forks, noses twitching for night wind news. Each creature bore big eyes, narrow shoulders, and long digits designed for bark and vine. Yet pressure brewed beneath their bones, continental plates heaved, volcanoes lifted ridges. Rainfall faltered. Patches of grass insinuated themselves between the trees, opening corridors of light that beckoned with distant scent of ripening figs. One twilight the troop ventured to ground. They walked past termite mounds silvered by moon, waded a brook, browsed fallen fruit. A juvenile reached upward for a dangling pod just beyond comfortable grasp. She straightened her hips, balanced on toes, swiped, and for a heartbeat she stood almost tall. In that wobble flowed the first thread of a future posture. Ligaments stretched, inner ear recalibrated, mind noticed the view above grass. Then she dropped back to quadruped caution and loped on, unaware history had twitched like a sleeping cat. Seasons turned. Generations repeated the small miracle. What began as wobble became habit. Habit became slight advantage. Sentinels could scan for lions. Arms hung freer to cradle infants or carry scavenged eggs. Sweaty backs caught more breeze. Bit by incremental bit, 2 feet started arguing with 4. Fast, forward several hundred millennia. Landscape now resembled a ragged quilt of woodland islands across seas of yellow. Lightning set savannas burning, charcoal-scented dawn. Among mid-height grass, newly bipedal creatures, call them australopiths, darted between shade clumps, foraged roots with liberated hands, and learned the geometry of walking horizons. Every footfall printed a question into dust: what lies over the next rise? Night once more. Rain has ceased. Humidity steams. The troop gathers atop a basalt outcrop warm from sunset glow. They groom each other, teasing parasites from fur, humming little lip, buzz notes that will, long centuries ahead, evolve towards syllables. Above them a hunter's moon leans low, and the moist air multiplies its halo into 3 faint rings. An omen no one yet interprets, though every heart flutters. Lightning strikes again, this time closer. Flames leap along resiny shrubs, popping seed pods like corn. Most animals flee, but one adolescent watches, trance still. She notes that insects in the fire's path crisp instantly, that heat chases back the chill, that predators hesitate at the flicker. She does not know the word tool. She only knows curiosity. Just before dawn, rain dozes the blaze, and the girl scavenges a half, burned branch still glowing red. Its warmth cradles her palms, its ember breathes on twigs and sparks new flames. Fire. the sky's dangerous pet, now has a leash, though many centuries will pass before descendants master knots tight enough to hold it. First sparks, the Lomacwe strike leap ahead to roughly 300,000 years before your pillow cooled tonight. We stand on a broad Kenyan floodplain nicknamed Lomacwe. Volcanic crags loom violet in dawn haze. A shallow river rolls gems of basalt and phonolite across its bed. Beside the water, a stocky creature, neither chimp nor human, tests stones like a bored drummer tests sticks. One cobble fits the curve of her palm, another rests heavy on sand. She raises the hammer, brings it down. Crack. A conchoidal fracture flashes, a slice of rock skids away razor-edged. The noise startles starlings, thrills something electric inside the striker's chest. She lifts the flake, turns it, presses edge to thumb tip. Blood beads, a lesson is learned. Stone can be persuaded into claw. Elsewhere, crocodiles patrol. Hippos grunt. Yet around our proto, Napa forms a clearing charged with novelty. First classroom in history, though there is no chalk, no chart, only repetition. Strike here, angle there, flip core, strike again. Soon a scatter of flakes radiates like frozen sparks. No one names the tradition Lomacwe for another 3 million years. But the tradition begins all the same. With a shard she scrapes green bark from a fallen branch, revealing crisp wet cambium that tastes faintly sweet. She saws tendons on a zebra leg cached overnight by hyenas and laughs. High, musical, chattering. When sinew parts in half the usual time. Calories gained ripple into ovulation, brain tissue risk-taking. Days later a juvenile imitates her. Hand-eye paths refine, mirror neurons fire. Culture, wordless, fragile, pours from one cortex into another across the bridge of gaze. Night. Cicadas hush. A new moon wanes. Around a termite mound, Napas sleep curled beside cores and flakes, as if guarding treasure. Meteorites cut silent streaks overhead. They dream of tumbling water, ripe fruit, or perhaps nothing at all. But synapses replay motor sequences, rehearsing tool, birth even in slumber. Oldowan dawn and the Marrow feast scroll forward 600,000 dawns. East African rift 2.6 million years ago. The landscape is drier, cooler. Acacia umbrellas shade thorny underbrush frequented by antelope. On a riverbank at Gona, Ethiopia, bones litter silt, split femurs of gazelle, cracked skulls of wildebeest. Spattered upon them are tiny V-shaped incisions, stone cut, marks sure and purposeful. Nearby, tons of debris, pebble cores, percussion flakes, battered hammerstones. Announce humanity's first industry. Oldowan. Picture a butchery scene. A small band approaches a lion-abandoned carcass. Hyenas loiter, but Napas arrive armed with edges. A swift slice opens hide. Hands plunge to harvest liver still warm. Pebble hammers smash femur ends. Liquid fat slurps as tongues meet marrow. Move fast. Vultures swirl. Hyenas snarl. But flint wins speed. Cheeks bulge with protein. Bodies retreat before danger claims dividends. Such meals are not daily, yet their nutrients echo loudly. Brains balloon from 450 cubic centimeters toward 600, drinking glucose from bone fat, forging circuits for memory, anticipation, empathy. Children watch adults choose the right cobbles, quartzite for toughness, basalt for edges. They mimic, fail, bleed, try again. Neoteny, our long helpless childhood, finds purpose, for there is now complex craft to learn. After feasting, someone drags a limb to shade of sausage tree. There, they nibble tendons while idly tapping 2 stones. They are not inventing anything, they are practicing. Practice is the real invention. Under starlight, the troop sings, if sing is the right word. Rhythmic hoots rise above crickets, patterning social glue from guttural noise. One adolescent drums stone against root, finding pleasure in repetition, potential pulses. Speech will eventually ride these rhythms like fireflies on wind. Hunger cycles, draughts, predator densities, all still brutal. But each crisis meets a troop carrying knives made of earth. Survival odds tilt. With every tilted day, more minds reach tomorrow. Becoming human. Habilis hunches toward tomorrow, another 400,000 years slide by like sand between river fingers. 2.1 million years ago. Meet Homo habilis. Handy human. Taller than Australopiths, clever-eyed, curious. Hands flex more like yours, thumbs oppose with force enough to twist, pinch, and carve. Wherever haberlines roam, older ones scatters mark the bivouac. Flake blank, hammer blank strike, language of wrist and ear. A juvenile watches an elder crack a nodule just so, releasing a flake shaped like a shark tooth. The elder gifts the child the shard. Instant apprenticeship. Culture is inheritance independent of genes. It can mutate tomorrow without waiting for chromosomes. Rain season floods lowlands. Haberlines perch atop a knoll, twigs of wild basil between teeth, repelling mosquitoes. They nap all afternoon, producing an armory for the next scavenging sortie. Grandmothers sort flakes by size. Tiny ones for tuber peeling, broader ones for hide. Organization dawns. At dusk, firelight flickers. A storyteller traces shapes in dust, spirals, zigzags, perhaps recounting the lion chase, perhaps marking territories. Pattern recognition blossoms. Entorhinal neurons, precursors to the GPS grid cells in your own head, light up as figures illustrate where rivers shift each dry season. Maps are born without parchment. Erectus on the move. Footprints across sunrise, step again through tumbling millennia until we stand 1.5 million years ago at Kenya's Illirit lakebed. Volcanic ash preserved a morning's worth of footprints, parallel trails, 2 adults, 1 child, strides long and confident. An artist could cast plaster in these tracks and sell replicas as modern. But these belong to Homo erectus. Track depth reveals muscle distribution. Toe splay reveals push-off power. These people walked like distance runners. And they needed to. Africa is big, but opportunity sometimes blooms far away. Erectus followed migrating herds, then followed and followed until grasslands blurred into Levantine oak groves. They crossed land bridges into Georgia, pitched camp at Manisi, napped flakes of local chert, boiled marrow by hearth heat. Imagine a young erectus staring at frost for the first time. His breath smokes, his hand axe dangles from raw-eyed grip. Hairs rise on arms. Against pre-dawn cobalt, he sees wolves outlined atop a ridge. He grips the axe, then wolves disappear. Neither side attacks, both sides gauge. This frontier teaches caution, cooperation. When day breaks, the band packs hearth embers into bark containers, carries heat forward. Fire has become portable, a pet star on leash of sinew. These travelers know stone intimately, but now they notice something else inside certain seam of riverbank clay. Small pebbles gleam greenish. They pocket a few without purpose, yet curiosity has sparked again. Hand-axe morning broke like any other thin cloud, a chalky sun slanting over the rift, dew steaming off thorn scrub. Yet what happened this morning, and tomorrow morning, and 10,000 mornings after, would change stone from tool into art. A young Homo erectus napper, named only by the rhythm of his breath, crouched beside a river cobble the size of a newborn goat. He rolled it in his palm, feeling the hidden geometry beneath weathered rind. Nothing in his upbringing hinted at triangles or golden ratios, but instinct and endless practice told him the nodule held a sleeping teardrop. First, he struck away cortex. 1, 2, 3 strokes, each chosen for angle, force, rebound. Chips skittered like fleeing mice. Second, he rotated the core, trimming ridges so every new flake thinned the opposite face. Third, he walked, the edge around the circumference, tapering point and heel until symmetry hummed beneath fingertips. Hours later the teardrop glinted, edges perfect, faces balanced, mass aligned so the tool would bite but not twist. Nearby, other hands repeated the same slow miracle. Dozens of axes littered camp like silver leaves. They were sharp, yes, capable of splitting hippo hide or levering acacia root. But they were also beautiful, so consistently shaped that even modern engineers blink at the standard deviation. Why chase such perfection? Because each swing was a meditation, each refinement a quiet announcement. I can see a form inside chaos, and I can free it. Around evening hearths, hand axes became passports for mating, emblems of patience. The more precise the geometry, the more eyes lingered on the maker. No language named the allure, yet every raised brow understood. Night settled. Axes ringed the fire in neat rows, tips pointing outward like petals around a glowing flower. Children traced fingers along flaked ridges until eyelids sagged. Elders warmed calloused palms above coal, red logs. The group dined on root mash and slivers of bush, pig roasted on hazel spits. When bellies eased, conversation drifted into a wordless murmur, hums, clicks, gentle laughter. The flames snapped, sparks flew into the black. Above, constellations clung to a sky unimaginably sharp, unblunted by electric haze. One bright ember soared higher than the rest, a meteor searing into atmosphere, then vanished. A child gasped. An elder tapped ash with a stick, sketching loops and arrows to show how heaven's stones sometimes fell. Teaching happened with gesture, silhouette, and memory of bright streaks. Teaching never truly sleeps. Days bled into seasons. Rain coaxed grass, drought baked clay, herds wandered, hunters followed. All the while the hearth remained, no longer a novelty but the heartbeat of camp. Fire is furniture, elders joked without words, something to arrange life around. Its gifts multiplied. Meat simmered until sinew surrendered to toothless mouths. Water boiled to drive off parasites. Hardwood points thrust through flames grew glassy hard, true spears at last. Smoke drove gnats from sleeping faces. With every new use, devotion deepened. One afternoon lightning punched a baobab 2 valleys away. As flames climbed the trunk, the clan's ember keeper, a stoop-shouldered woman with clever wrists, hurried through brush bearing a bark cylinder stuffed with mossy coals. She crouched near the inferno, opened her container, and exchanged old embers for fresh, hotter ones. Safely home, she buried the glowing cargo beneath ash so slowly that heat would smolder until sunrise. If her hands shook, lineage might lose its only match, so they rarely shook. Around such elders a new ritual emerged: evening circle. People sat shoulder to shoulder, letting darkness press close while fire carved red masks from faces. In those circles, raw episodes of the day digested into narrative. A forager mimed plucking honey. A hunter mimed the spring of a wounded eland. Listeners learned terrain, dangers, virtues of patience, all without needing carved syllables. Storytelling muscles stretched, memory thickened, future oratory warmed in embryonic hush. Centuries stacked like dry leaves. Populations swelled. Some groups peeled north into cedar valleys now called the Levant. Others traced the Red Sea coastline into Arabia, carrying ember tubes and flawless hand axes. Farther still, small detachments drifted east, riding ecological corridors through Persia, Afghanistan, and on toward the Indian subcontinent. Among those migrants, a handful stumbled into winter for the first time. Frost turned breath to smoke, ground to iron. They fumbled with firebow drills until sparks kissed tinder and panic faded. Across months of snow, they learned new prey: sager antelope, shaggy yak, learned to cache foods in pits, learned to stitch hide sleeves with bone awls. One bitter dawn, a visionary stabbed 4 spear shafts upright and stretched a sewn skin over them, inventing history's first windbreak tent. Necessity whispered, creativity answered. Soon wood alone was not enough. European forests offered trunks thick as towers. Trunks demanded deeper bites than even best hand axes could give. Knappers craved edges sharper yet, and tougher than flint. They found obsidian, a volcanic glass so keen its blade divides skin before nerves can protest. They found sandstone for grinding trows. They found, buried inside cold lava flows, curls of red-green mineral that would one day become copper. Curiosity filed those colors away, waiting. One summer evening, as pine smoke drifted skyward, a hunter knelt to chip a fresh obsidian blank. Each flake broke smoother than the last. At final pressure stroke, the edge split a fingertip open from nail to pad. Blood met glass edge, both glittered in sunset. The hunter laughed at pain. This was a good blade. He packed it with moss to gift the clan's butcher, who would use it to slice reindeer hide so clean lice eggs would slip from fur. Time roared on, impatient yet glacial. Homo heidelbergensis emerged, broader shoulders, heavier brows, cranial capacity nudging modern. They lived in clans of perhaps 30, large enough for specialization. A few became expert carpenters, Others master trackers. Others still guardians of myth who could chant leopard, lullabies to ease children's fear. At a marshy lakeshore that modern engineers will label Sho Ningen, a group of such humans cut straight spruce saplings, trimmed them with hand axes, and fire-hardened both ends. The result is symmetrical throwing spears, 2 meters long, balanced like javelins. Hunters practiced lobbing at tree trunks until shafts thunked straight. Soon they tested on flesh. Under grey sky a small delegation crept through sedge. Wild horses grazed unknowingly. At a signal 3 spears asked, whistling. 2 found flanks, 1 slammed a shoulder, stampede erupted. By dusk, 20 people hauled butchered quarters to camp across makeshift travois. Spears were sharpened near the fire, resin smeared into cracks, sinew wrappings shrunk tight in steam. A new feedback loop started. Distance weapons meant safer hunts, meaning more calories, meaning longer childhoods, meaning bigger brains eager for more invention. Not everything was hunt and hearth. Beneath limestone hills, Heidelberg clans sometimes hauled dead companions into twilight chambers, curling them on sides like sleepers, strewing fistfuls of ochre across cold cheeks. Why? Respect, sanitation, hope. A mother brushed fingertips across her son's brow one last time, then sealed cave mouth with slabs. Her grief echoed along stalactites in perfect darkness. Even without words for eternity, she behaved as if the concept mattered. Now shift ocean-wide to sunlit islands where rules warp. On floors, tectonic uplift stranded volcanic ridges amid deep sea. Anything marooned here shrank. Elephants dwindled to pony size, giant storks stalked tidal flats, and a human cousin with a brain no bigger than grapefruit learned stonecraft. Scholars will name her species Homo floresiensis. Locals, much later, will whisper of Ibu Gogo forest, people swift and shy. A tiny woman, barely a meter tall, squats by a fire, roasting rat skewer. She flips rat with twig, tests meat, shares with siblings. Tools around her are petite duplicates of mainland Axis pygmy technology for pygmy hands. Across 50,000 years they flourish in micro. Paradise, generation after generation, their story unknown to continents buzzing with bigger brains. Yet craftsmanship does not require brain bulk, only culture's steady metronome. To the north, on Luzon, something similar but different unfolds. Teeth and finger bones will hint at yet another small-bodied species, maybe cousin, maybe independent branch. Each island is an experiment. Each isolation swerves destiny. Evolution has no preference beyond survival. Meanwhile, across fog-draped Europe, Neanderthals thrive amid Mammoth Steppe and Permafrost Valley. Their arms thicken to swing heavy spears, their eyes widen for twilight, their minds, full, bright, complex, begin scribbling symbols in darkness. Consider a cavern in what later ages will call Brunicle. Hundreds of stalagmites broken, stacked into circles far from cave mouth. Torch soot blackens limestone. No skin scraping or cooking occurred here. No bedding, no dung. Only rings of stone in gloom absolute. Firelight would have made the formations glow orange like the pupil of some colossal cat. Why construct such architecture where sun can never praise it? Ritual, play, acoustics. The purpose died with its makers, but the audacity remains. Elsewhere, Neanderthal artisans collect ochre lumps, grind them to silky dust, mix with marrow or plant oil, smear over hides or bones. At La Ferracy they bury a child under limestone lip, sprinkle red powder, fold bison scapula across tiny chest. Across thousands of years more graves accumulate cadence-flexed knees, stone tools, pigment stains. Atop Monte Licini in Italy, 2 Neanderthal hunters kneel at chert seam, napping Mysterian points by Levallois technique, striking outside flakes first to prepare a tortoise, shell core, then popping off a single, superb flake shape before it exists. Precision equals efficiency, fewer blows, less raw material wasted. Their flakes halved onto wooden shafts with birch bark tar. They do not call this chemistry, yet sticky black tar requires oxidative distillation, a process some modern campers botch. The Stone Age mind is anything but dim. One late winter, a band butchers reindeer near a limestone shelter. Snow stings knuckles, wind slashes embers. An elder pulls a yellow chunk of goethite from pouch and powders it into fire, where sparks leap higher in metallic greens. Children shriek delight. For that evening, hardship tastes like wonder, and yet a shadow edges closer competitors with slimmer skeletons and distant accents. Homo sapiens. First they are rumors, then smoke on far ridge, then strangers flashing ivory beads at river crossing, willing to trade thick hides for obsidian. Encounters vacillate between wary trade, shy curiosity, and lethal misunderstanding. Genomes will later reveal that occasionally meeting bodies pressed closer than knives. In some sheltered valley, a Neanderthal woman bears a hybrid child. Lullabies in two accents weave above cradle of mammoth hide. South of winter lines, a different drama blossoms. In southern Africa, early sapiens grind red ochre, mix with stinging nettle juice and seal fat, and with fingertip draw cross, hatched grids on stone flakes. No mammoth to fear here, only time to fill with abstraction. Near Pinnacle Point, a mother and daughter sit on tide, flat watching moon pull ocean. They dunk abalone shells in fire, warm water, stirring pigment until paste shines like arterial blood. The mother paints streak down child's nose, protection from wind or badge of clan. Maybe both. Ochre stains become habit. Habit evolves into language of hue: red for bloodline, yellow for fertility, white ash for the recently dead. Thousands of coastlines away in present day, surfers smear zinc sunscreen across cheeks. Same impulse. Color mark against environment, declare identity, whisper ritual. Stone Age never fully closes its book. The world tilts again. Ice tightens, then loosens. Mammoths retreat. Spruce forests march north. Some humans follow herds into corridors soon called Beringia, grassland once connecting Siberia and Alaska. Wind there howls like broken gutters, yet these migrants cross, wearing caribou, skin parkas sewn with bone needles, so fine they pass through leather without tearing. Beyond the land bridge lies continent unpeopled. Footprints stamp new snow, children name rivers no tongue has claimed. In every camp dogs trot, tails held mid-height, ears swiveling at faint scents of musk ox. Once wolves, now partners, they share carcass scraps and warn of bear approach. They also carry fleas, refuse to fetch sticks, and occasionally slip off to howl at ancestral cousins beyond torchlight. Partnership is never perfect, only profitable. East of sunrise, original continents change too. Rains intensify across a Levant where gazelle fatten. The Natufian people gather barley with flint sickles, bring sheaves to limestone mortars, pound grain into coarse porridge sweetened by fig pulp. Nights echo with new contentment, the sense that food can stay if people stay. Stone mortars bury under weight of repetition, seed husks accumulate, rodents sneak into granaries, cats follow rodents, domestication stirs again. Yet stone stands unshaken, even as copper glimmers. Many prefer obsidian's purity for scalpels. On summer afternoons you might find a healer selecting flawless glass from volcanic scree. Pressure, flaking micro, blades slender as eyelashes. She'll set them by sunshine to sterilize. Later, with patient hum, she opens an abscess on a hunter's thigh, letting pus drain without ragged tear. The hunter never wonders why steel never came. Obsidian is godlike already. Dusk again. We sit at the edge of 40,000 years ago, where Neanderthal song fades and sapiens chorus rises. Hand axes still hang from belts. Mysterian points still pierce hide. Birch tar still glues tool to haft. Yet horizon gleams with possibilities no ancestor could dream. Ceramic bowls, woven mats, tiny shell beads measuring out the mathematics of beauty. If drowsiness leans heavier now, embrace it. The embers of deep time will glow all night. When eyelids open later, we will step forward into ochre, red caves and painted dreams, into needle and thread, into clay fire and wheel song, into copper's first blush and bronze's bright sting. Stone will walk with us still, a silent elder at every campsite. We have more miles ahead, but rest is part of travel. Let the coals of our last camp settle into dim orange while new ones pulse awake. Shift your shoulders, ease your jaw, and ride the hush that arrives when memory prepares to bloom. Somewhere behind your closing eyelids, Neanderthal songs are still echoing in limestone vaults, but we must step onward. The next stretch of night belongs to clay that hardens into stone, to threads that twist time, to circles that refuse to end, and to a green metal that teaches rock to flow. Breathe once, slow, breathe twice, slower still, off we go. Fireproof clay. The first pots we begin on a chill dawn along the frayed edge of a Japanese river valley, 17,000 years past. Mist snags willow branches, cranes, legs like reeds, test mud for snails. A young woman squats beside a shallow fire. In her lap rests a bowl-shaped bundle of damp clay, walls finger thin, surface pressed with spirals of knotted cord. She pinches one last coil into place and studies the vessel as though consulting an oracle. Only then does she lean forward, carve a hollow among the embers, and nestle the pot inside. Until this moment no one has intentionally baked earth, so hot that it forgets how to be soft. But she has touched scorched clay lumps near wildfire scars and guessed a possibility. Dry kindling towers above her pot in teepee fashion. Sparks flutter, resin flares, smoke weaves upward. Flames climb past 500 degrees, 600, 700. Water flees the clay as vapor. Micro-explosions snap, but walls hold. Hours later the pyre collapses into pink ash. She rakes it aside with a charred branch and exhales. The bowl sings when tapped, a bell, tone no damp mud ever spoke. She pours water from a bamboo scoop. The vessel does not crumble. Eyes widen. By evening half the clan gathers, curious. She ladles river water into the pot, sprinkles dried yam flakes, sets it by coals. Soon starch bubbles, scent rising like promise. Wooden spoons dip, tongues test, and astonishment spreads faster than heat. Boiled food is gentler on teeth and guts, releases more energy from meager roots, sweetens their bitterness. The pot passes from hand to hand until the last dribble vanishes. A new craft is born, the union of patience, fire, and plastic soil. For centuries the Jaemon continue shaping bag-shaped jars, pressing cord, leaf, and shell into damp walls. Decoration not for status but for grip and joy. Each spiral is a fingerprint of morning conversation. Each rim style whispers the dialect of river or bay. Fires grow larger, firing pits deepen. Some pots reach half-meter tall, stuffed with acorns to leach tannins or crustaceans to render broth. Pottery does not coax people into farming. Rather, plentiful forests and tidal pools coax pottery into being, because abundant fuel and time allow experiment. East Asia is not alone. Far to the west, in what will someday be Hunan province, another lineage of foragers tends rock, ring hearths inside cast caves. They too discover that clay plus flame equals permanence. Shards from Uchanian cave carry rice starch on their inner skins, evidence of porridge 9,000 years before a rice paddy exists. Across damp nights the forager, potters stir snails, tubers, lily bulbs, fish bones. No one writes recipes, but the ceramic memory holds flavors just the same. What pottery does to the human mind is subtle. It invents container as category. Leather pockets leak, gourd shells split, bark baskets rot. Ceramics promise to outlive seasons. They anchor campsites. People can now save broth for tomorrow, store embers all night, simmer medicines until bitter roots surrender virtue. This durability invites settlement in ways wheat never could on its own. Clay forms walls around intention. Within those walls time thickens. Seamstress of the dark. Thread and needle far south. The Kalahari wind combs Thornveld grass like a giant's thumb. 12,000 years ago, the night before solstice, an elder named only by click, consonant scratches fresh sinew across a bone awl, narrowing the tip finer than a mosquito proboscis. Her daughter plies slender strips of wildebeest hide, pulling them through a perforated ostrich, egg bead. Nearby, a child twirls dried sansevieria fibers into a 2-ply cord, palm against thigh, twist, twist, reverse lay, letting tension braid itself. Weaving and sewing precede agriculture by tens of millennia, but now they surge. Tailored clothing is no longer a luxury of ice-age blizzard camps. It becomes statement, symbolism, storage. The San elder pierces hide, threads sinew. Knots flawless square, not so flesh, side faces inwards and hair, side outwards repels drizzle. She hems a pouch for fire sticks. She inserts a hidden pocket for numbing root powder. Through these seams runs technology invisible to archaeologists unless bone needles petrify or fabric prints itself by accident into wet clay. Spindles arise from the simplest motion, dangling a stick from twisting fingers and letting physics finish the spin. A pebble haul ensures inertia. Flax fibers grip, drawing out into continuous line. Each spindle whirls like a miniature planet, and gathered children stare as if at sorcery. Twine turns into plate, plate into sash, sash into net. Nets mean fish even when spears miss. Nets mean birds snared in migration and berries air, dried in sun. A single evening's fiber work equals days of hunting calories. Soon vertical looms sprout between hut posts. Warp threads dangle like rain, weft shuttle passes left and right, heartbeat rhythm. Building cloth large enough to wrap a newborn or tie a toddler to mother's back while she digs tubers. With each shuttle pass, the woven grid holds not only fiber, but narrative colors from ochre, charcoal, ground malachite encode clan, season, spirit. If story, singers die, cloth may recall the myth in its stripe arrangement. Needlework reshapes shelter too. In icy Beringia, mammoth, hide tents once pocked by draught now press stitched double seams, stuffed with moss as insulation. Sinew shrinks when dry, tightening every puncture. Warmth buys survival, survival buys time, time buys innovation. Thus a humble bone sliver with eye drilled by obsidian tip may be as revolutionary as bronze sword or steam piston. The first wheel. Circles refuse to end. Imagine rolling a heavy water jar on a fallen log. The jar bumps, tips, cracks. Someone tries again with 2 logs under a travois, pushing while another pulls ropes. The logs roll but slide aside. Problem. How to make rolling surfaces move yet secretly stand still relative to platform. 5,600 years ago on the wet plains by the Ljubljanica marsh, modern Slovenia, a cartmaker's son glares at puddles sabotaging sled runners. He idly slices discs from a beech trunk and drills a hole through each with flint, bitbow drill. His father slides an ash pole through, fixes crossbars, lashes crater top. They tip load of firewood, wheels creak but rotate around static axle. Moment of thunder, quiet-eyed drag becomes roll. Day's transport doubles, backage halves. Potter's wheels likely came first, small discs spun by foot or hand to shape clay faster. And the concept spills horizontally into transport. In Sumer, pictographs soon carved too, wheeled chariots pulled by onager hybrids. Elsewhere, arid steppe herders mount wagon housings for children and elders while herds roam to new pastures. The wheel shrinks earth, multiplies exchange of obsidian, salt, gossip, pathogens. Everywhere circles appear, millstones yawning grain, flywheels powering pump drills, spindle, halls carved prettier since wheel teaches perfect symmetry. Cultural psyche shifts. Straight lines once traced migrations, now loops dominate. Seasons loom, warp turns, cart journeys out and back, potters spinning discs till walls bloom. Even myth follows suit, serpents biting tails, sun god riding circular sky, birth, death, rebirth. The wheel teaches eternity without philosophy. Clay kiln meets ore. Copper's green whisper flashed to Anatolia, 7500 BCE. Villagers of Iratoyek plaster house walls with white marl, paint ochre bulls, and rebuild over ancestors' graves each generation. Hearths never fully die. They glow beneath raised sleeping platforms. One autumn night a potter crumbles a curious greenish rock into kiln coals, perhaps to pigment pottery slip. Firing climbs to 900 degrees C. Morning reveals glassy black beads fused to shirred copper prills. She prays them loose with antler tine. They bend instead of shatter. Ice widen again. Word spreads along obsidian trade paths to the Balkans. There, at Belivode, artisans mine malachite veins, mix crushed ore with charcoal, pack it into clay crucibles fitted with goat skin bellows. 2 young men kneel, work bellows in alternating rhythm, feeding air to fever. Orange bloom rises, slag foams, viscous metal puddles. They pour into stone mold shaped like ore. Copper solidifies rosy and warm. It is softer than flint but refire able. If point bends, heat and hammer restore form. At first, copper serves beads, rings, fish hooks, Status pins. Stone still rules axes, obsidian still rules surgery. But metallurgists tinker. They cold hammer, anneal, cold hammer again, discovering work hardening. Blades stay sharp longer. Someone accidentally spills tin, rich cassiterite pebbles into smelt, alloy forms. Bronze, harder, tougher. Casting fluid fills mold details flint never dreams. Edge enters new tier. In a Danubian hamlet, a smith casts bronze axe for a chieftain's daughter. The day he delivers it, sunlight hits the blade so bright children shield eyes. She hefts it, swings at poplar log, watching chips leap free faster than stone ever managed. Log becomes planks, planks become coffin for ancestor. Coffin lowered into earth, the axe rules over. Stone still echo in daily craft, but prestige has a new sheen, a dawn of metal lust, loom of nations. Thread counts future, while metal glows, fibers keep twining. In the floodplains of Mesopotamia, women soak flax bundles in river, beat them with wooden clubs, heckle through bone combs until pale strands gleam. They load warp, weighted looms 40 spans wide, and weave linen breadths, so sheer priests call them raiment of dawn. Accounts scratched on clay tablets track deliveries. 5 talents of barley exchanged for 2 linen bolts, each bolt 12 cubits long, 80 threads per palm. Numbers embed in cloth, math becomes textile tension. North across steppe, Indo-European pastoralists spin wool from fat, tailed sheep, dye yarn with madder and woad, and pattern twill chevrons meaning clan alliances. These fabrics line wagons, pad infants' cradles, wrap the dead, and sometimes serve as draft currency. Debt measured in hides and rugs. Textile weavers thus underwrite migrations long before coin. In Nile Delta, horizontal ground looms spread. Pyramid laborers receive cloth rations along with beer. The synergy is clear without thread. No sails to move cedar from Lebanon. Without sails. No timbers. Without timbers, no coffins for kingdom's god-kings. A bone needle might direct an empire as surely as sword. Stone persists in shadow and surgery. Do not assume stone bows out. On a hill near modern Mexico City 4500 BCE, a healer presses obsidian micro, blade against swollen gum, lances abscess, drains infection. She will bury blade afterward. A gift to Mother Earth, because resharpening might carry sickness. In New Guinea highlands, stone adds his hollow canoes whose prows will skim coral sea centuries before keel boats in Mediterranean. In Arctic evening, Inuit hunter chips chert snow, knife to cut blocks for igloo shelter, steel too brittle at 40-degree stone. Fiber, clay, copper, they weave coexistence. The Stone Age is not a door that slams, it is a horizon dissolving into new sky. Every innovation perches atop the old like barn swallow on water buffalo. Symbiotic. If fire once demanded taming, now humans demand from fire evermore fuse ore, vitrify glaze, harden bricks. Flames obey yet threaten. Pottery kilns sometimes overfire and collapse, hissing green copper fumes that make watchers dizzy and superstitious. Elders craft stories. Copper is the blood of mountains. Overheat it and mountains curse with fever. Myths police technology's pace. Wheel meets road. Carts gather worlds late spring on Suma's alluvial plain, 3100 BCE. River recedes, leaving cracked clay pocked by fish skeletons. Too solid, wheel carts grown down a new rutted track, pulled by 4 truculent onagers wearing braided, reed muzzles. Behind each cart, dust pillar sways like cobra. Freight. Baskets of barley, goat skins of date wine, a sealed jar holding malachite powder bound for potter's glaze. Round trip that once took 6 days by pack, donkey now takes 3. Merchants smile, scribes sharpen reed pens to tally. Wheels propagate outward. Indus Valley brick streets echo with squeal of axle. Cucutini culture in Moldavia paints red and white spirals onto miniature wheeled figurines. Perhaps toys, perhaps votive. Celtic forefathers refined spoked wheels, lighten chariots till they fly over Hith. Each adoption rewrites tempo of life. Distance compresses. Marriages span rivers. Diseases hitch rides. Languages borrow verbs. The wheel is less invention than invitation to collision. Bronze sings of war and water, copper alone, improved cut but bent under oak. Alloyed with tin from Cornwall lodes or Afghan streams, bronze could shear wood, pierce hide, break bone. In Anatolian dawn, a smelter crowns crucible with charcoal, silver sparks swirl, forge, God breathes. Liquid bronze streams into two, part stone mold shaped like dagger leaf. When metal cools, apprentice cracks mold, polishes blade with sand, fastens antler grip. Edge shines olive, gold under torch. A farmer buys dagger for bride, price, and soon forgets stone knives existed. Bronze axes fell cedar for royal ship of Giza. Bronze picks carved tomb corridors. Bronze adzes trimmed yokes for oxen turning irrigation screws. With bronze cauldrons, cooks render salt from seawater, brew beer without smoky pottery taste. With bronze mirrors, queens admire coal-lined eyes and gauge eternity. But bronze also breeds jealousy. Valley chiefdom raids neighbors, seizing ore veins. Fort hilltops sprout palisades. Arrowheads transition from fire. Hardened reed to triangular bronze with tang for haft. Wounds worsen. Healers race to keep pace. Obsidian still cleans incisions but cannot knit a heart pierced by bronze spear. Stones try one last gambit. Fortress walls built of Cyclopean limestone. Yet siege crews fashion bronze chisels that slot into wooden wedge, then swell with water to split bedrock. Stone Age walls meet Bronze Age persistence. Victory remains uncertain, but contest shapes legend. Stone Age echo. The quiet legacy, now the late Neolithic sun sets over both old and new. In a lakeside village of piled dwellings, a carpenter sharpens bronze chisel on sandstone block, sets it aside, and picks up flint berin to incise decorative grooves in ash bowl. Stone Edge still reigns for finicky detail. His wife kneels at loom, weaving dogband fibers with copper pin beater. Nearby, a potter paints whirl motifs on jug whose clay body once hugged copper, bearing ore fragments, leaving green freckles in glaze. Two adolescents spin toy wheels in dust while infant gnaws antler teether. So many ages nested in one dusk. When fireflies blink on, clan members gather on wooden decking. An elder lifts obsidian blade, bronze blade, and polished hand, axe into firelight, and tells story of their births. One from mountain glass, one from metal's blood, one from the dreaming heart of river stone. Sparks rise, bats loop overhead, children's eyes shine. They learn chronology not as textbook list, but as chorus of textures, smooth clay rim, oily bronze tang, gritty flake ridge. 1,000 kilometers east, in desert night near Cataloic, two traders crouch over goat, skin ledger. One produces lapis beads, the other, a wheel, thrown bowl of stunning thinness coated in copper, green glaze. They haggle in half, shared tongue. Trace numbers with reed stylus in wet clay tablet, then stamp seals. Commerce needs cultures together as potters once needed clay. Innovations do not replace so much as recalibrate. Turning toward dawn, we approach the hinge where our Stone Age chronicle bends into something else. Into cuneiform contracts, ziggurat bricks, and iron blades that will bruise bronze's pride. Yet if stone fades from spotlight, it never exits stage. It becomes stage itself, millstones grinding wheat, cornerstones stabilizing temples, lintels framing doorways where bronze will polish and iron sparkle. Let sleep settle on your lashes again. Hear distant night jar, feel weight of blankets mimic weight of time. Layer on layer, tool on tool, idea on idea. Fire still crackles somewhere behind your closed eyes. Maybe you see a girl turning a clay bowl inside blazing sticks, or grandparent measuring new forged dagger, or child watching wheels leave twin ruts toward dawn. Whatever image drifts up. Know every breath you take tonight rides on their hushed experiments, clay that refuse to melt, thread that refuse to tangle, circles that refuse to stop, and stone that refuse to disappear. Tomorrow, if you wish, we can step across that hinge, into city walls, Bronze Age sails, scripts etched into wet tablets, and the first smith who dared heat iron until stars wept sparks. But for now the kiln door closes, wheels slow, looms hush, copper ingots cool, and the oldest lullaby, stone tapping stone, echoes one last soft measure beneath your dream. Before we crack the mold that hides hot iron, let us stand for a heartbeat on a dawn ridge above two rivers. Great curling snakes of silt and memory. One is the Euphrates, one the Tigris. and between them in the early 3rd millennium BCE gleams a scatter of low flat roofs, reed boats, date palms, and kiln smoke. We name the place Sumer, though its people call their home simply Kalam, the land. Sunlight strikes stacked mud brick walls, strikes bronze hinges, strikes bitumen, sealed canals that mirror clouds already bleaching white in heat. Beneath that glare, humanity's tempo accelerates beyond any lullaby our ancestors once crooned. We are entering the long, bright fever of cities. Mud, brick giants and the grammar of clay. It began humbly, as most trimmers of civilization do, with accounting. Grain harvests swelled under purposeful canals, sheep multiplied behind woven fences, beer vats frothed, and soon no one could recall precisely whose barley belonged where. So temple stewards pressed small clay tokens, cones for measures of barley, spheres for goats, drying them in the same sun that baked their bread. When even tokens overflowed, someone flattened a lump of river silt and pinched wedge shapes directly into its skin. 1 mark for a jar, 2 for a month, a stylus stroke for a god's initial. Writing did not erupt to record poetry, it bloomed to track taxes. Yet from such bureaucratic seed burst epic of Gilgamesh, hymn to Inanna, and the first recorded lullaby sleep, little one, do not cry. Mother is near with bread and beer. Notice the continuum hands once coaxed ochre across cave walls, then coaxed fibers across looms, then coaxed molten copper into spear molds. Now they coax symbols into clay that outlasts heartbeat and bone. Each coaxing asks the world to remember so we may briefly forget. Bronze on the march, meanwhile bronze, child of copper and tin, flexed its new muscles. Where copper's blush bent under oak blows, bronze rang like a bell. Axes shaved cedar for temple columns, adzes carved dovetail joints, saws gnawed hull planks for river barges. News of the alloy spread along caravan lines, south into Egypt where the Nile's black silt birthed flax and papyrus, east to the Indus where baked, brick granaries inhaled monsoon humidity, north into steppe grasslands where chariot wheels hissed through feathers of dust. Tin, rarer than copper, became the era's pulse. Mines in Cornwall, in the Tian Shan, in the Zagros, in the Burmese hill tracts, each pulsed or into merchant veins, each guarded by spears of the very bronze their veins enabled. Picture a summer afternoon at a Hattian fortress in Anatolia. Sun glitters on river water diverted into moat. Within timber gates a smith stokes charcoal beneath goatskin bellows. Crucible glows orange, bronze ripples molten, mirror to flame. Apprentice pours into an open, mouthed clay mold shaped like a sickle sword, blade edge thicker than spine, designed to scare as much as sever. When metal browns molds crack, steam sighs. Smith quenching blade in brine fills air with wolfish hiss. He sets edge to whetstone, draws one stroke, and bright curls tumble like shavings of moonlight. Soldiers gather, admiring how bronze clatters against shield rim. Stone weapons still hunt boar and flint's hides, but on the battlefield bronze compounds fear with sheen. Stone underfoot, yet mud, brick cities and bronze blades rise upon a foundation older than either. Streets are paved with limestone fragments. Temples root into packed rubble. Grinding querns crush barley each dawn, their basalt faces tracing circles until hollowed like moons. Stonemasons still climb scaffolds, levering granite blocks with copper chisels that must be re-hardened daily. Even the cuneiform stylus cannot impress without reed cut against flint edge. Stone remains stage mortar, punctuation of place. The song of glass one kiln experiment births another. In Egypt's desert starlight, artisans melting quartz sand beneath heaps of natron discover a translucent medium that cools to blue, green glaze around copper droplets. They draw rods through molten honey, coil threads into beads, later blow bubbles into perfume vessels, chiming when tapped. Glass is liquid stone captured mid-flow, and obsidian's cousin now sings under sunlight. Queens adorn wigs with glass carnelian lapis, turquoise imitations, merchants hawk fragile rings to sailors, physicians grind powdered glass into eye, paint. Human ingenuity piles like improbable masonry. Clay token upon loom, weight upon wheel upon glass rod upon written ode describing each invention, as gift of gods. Iron in the charcoal heart, but far north, in hills thick with oak and wild pig, a different metal pouts beneath mossy boulders. Iron's ore is everywhere, staining rivers and cliff faces red, but it clings to oxygen like grief. To free it requires hotter fires than pottery or bronze demand. For half a millennium smiths try, fail, try. Occasionally they retrieve a meteorite shard already metallic, forging, ski, iron into daggers for kings. Tutankhamun will be buried with such a blade. Extraterrestrial nickel flecks swirling under gold hilt. Still, sky iron is gift, not craft. Then, sometime around 1500 BCE in the mountains of Anatolia, Hittite draft animals haul hematite into clay furnaces taller than a standing man. A bellows crew, child pumping treadles, woman pulling goatskin accordions, elder listening for color. Pushes air until charcoal core roars bright as noon. Slag froths, ore nodules soften, but do not liquefy. Iron is stubborn. They breach furnace and drag out a spongy bloom glowing white. With stone hammers they knead it like bread, expelling glassy slag they fold. Reheat, hammer again. By dawn a bar of wrought iron rests on anvil. It feels different, springy, hungry to spark. They harden it in water. Watch surface darken to gunmetal blue. Axe head forged from that bar bites oak and fails to chip. Spear tines pierce bronze plate. A new hierarchy begins. Iron's price, yet for centuries iron remains precious. The furnace cycle drinks forests. Charcoal appetite carves hillside terraces barren. Blacksmiths emerge as half priest, half midwife, coaxing metal embryo from womb of rock. Villagers gossip that smiths can heal snakebite or hex crops. Hammer clang becomes heartbeat of rumor. Heavy iron daggers decorate treaty tablets. One sword trades for a village. One plowshare for a season of barley. Meanwhile bronze continues to rule where tin persists. Civilization grows fractal. Assyrian scribes copy Sumerian myths. Babylonian builders repoint walls with pitch. Phoenician merchants steer cedar. Hulled galleys by Ursa Major, loading holds with purple. Diamphora bound for Mycenaean harbours. In each hold lies ballast of river stone. Silent witness to goods and languages swirling above. Alphabet stone lines become sound. Along Levantine coast, busy scribes tire of cuneiform syllabic maze. Traders need receipts quick as market haggling. So they shave script to 20, 2 letters, each a sound. Aleph, Beth, Gimel, ox, house, camel. Stone carvers incise letters into sarcophagi. Papyrus scrawlers jot messages. Shepherd children scratch graffiti. First love poem in lines of sandal, wood, charcoal. Alphabet is clay, token wisdom distilled. Now portable in mind alone. Westward, Greek sailors borrow letters, pivot orientation, add vowels like breath marks. Stone stels rise reading. Stop and look at me. I am memory. Written law codifies weight of silver, measure of land, conduct of funeral. Peasant may appeal to inscription rather than priest. Alphabet democratizes power in theory. Stone carved with words can shout king's whim. Axial echo around 800 BCE. Bronze gongs and iron kettledrums reverberate across Zhou, dynasty China. Prophets across continents step onto new stages. Hebrew shepherds hearing one jealous god. Greek rationalists dissecting nature. Upanishad sages meditating selves. Zhou scholars naming virtues. Ren, Li, why? They speak in script scratched on bamboo, incised in oracle bone, ink brushed onto silk. Ideas accelerate faster than chariot. Yet even here stone's hush persists. Buddha will sit beneath stone arm pillared into mountain. Socrates will stroll marble colonnades, carved by chisels striking softer limestone chisels. Isaiah will liken heart to flint, that the Lord must crack. Humanity's metaphors refuse to abandon the mineral alphabet. Road of empire, stone, salt, silk as iron proliferates, roads lace realms. Persian royal road stretches from Susa to Sardis, tamped gravel over crushed limestone, milestones hammered in place. Mounted couriers gallop from dawn to dusk, shouting passwords at relay posts. Greek historian marvels. No mortal travels faster than these Persian messengers. Each stride of horse hoof chips stone. Each chipped fragment enters dust inhaled by caravan camels loaded with lapis and cinnamon. East Asia counters with silk rodi. Not one road but braided tracks from Changan through Taklamakan, over Paymers, across Fergana and into Levant. Iron, shod hooves ring against basalt, turquoise merchants bargain in Osis shadows, Buddhist sutras ride yak saddles, Roman glass beads tinkle in Kyrgyz saddlebags. Cultures mingle like alloy, art cross-pollinates, plagues ride stowaway fleas, religions adopt each other's demons. The great web tightens, stone mileposts witness gossip in 50 tongues. Concrete dreams Rome inherits much and invents more. Volcanic ash from Campania, mixed with lime and seawater, forms concrete that sets under water. Engineers mold harbors, aqueduct arches, dams that defy gravity. Stone rubble becomes aggregate, locked inside artificial rock. Pantheon's coffered ceiling spans wider than any earlier vault. Rain drumming on its oculus will still lull sleepers 2,000 years hence. Concrete is stone imagined liquid, shapeable, mass-producible. Yet to face that concrete they still quarry marble, for beauty clings to veined mountain hearts. Roman legionaries march in hobnailed sandals, over straight roads paved in blocky basalt, ruts guiding cartwheels centuries later. They carry iron pillar, bronze helmets, steel, edge gladiator. Carbon, hardened iron that finally eclipses bronze, but cooks along the march lines still grind flour on rotary querns of lava stone. Laundresses still pound linen with pumice, mosaic artists still cut tesserae from limestone, green serpentine, red porphyry, setting stories of gods and grape harvests under villa footfalls. Paper and powder. We cross a narrow strait of centuries into Han China, where bamboo slips weigh archives like anchor chains. Court eunuch Kai Lun experiments with beating mulberry bark and rags into pulp, flattening with a mesh screen. Sun, drying thin leaves that accept ink like thirsty earth. Paper is portable stone memory, flexible, rollable, cheap. It will flutter across Silk Road, wrapped around gunpowder rockets centuries ahead. But the root remains fibers ground on stone mortars, smoothed on polished boards. Gunpowder itself, saltpeter, sulfur, charcoal, first scribbled as elixir for immortality, will mutate into bombs that shatter stone walls earlier epochs deemed eternal. Thus alchemy of curiosity births, both ink for poems and sparks for canon. Medieval echo and cathedral stone. Night falls on Europe. Some call era dark. Yet stone cathedrals rise like limestone forests. Masons shaped by guild secrets carve flying buttress ribs, pointed arches, rows, window tracery. Each block hosted by tread, wheel, crane. A vertical wheel where men walk inside like hamsters, converting weight into lift. Wheel returns, reincarnated as skeletal timber drum, singing with chains and groaning oak beams. From choir lofts echo iron-tuned bells, bronze censers swing incense, but walls are raw stone singing silent hymns of fracture and compressive strength. In Andean heights, Inca architects fit ashlar granite blocks so tight a bronze needle cannot slide between. Without iron or wheel they raise terraces anchoring maize fields to cliffs, build rope bridges braided from echu grass, keep quipu, not chord ledgers, recording census. Cotton cords act as binary script, knots replace papyrus and alphabet. Technology diverges but rhymes. Fiber memory once more. Black stone and blue steel, some innovations advance in bursts. In Indian crucibles of woots, craftsmen melt iron with carbon, rich leaves under sealed clay, coaxing ingots striped with carbide streaks. Forged and quenched, they unfold into Damascus steel patterns, flowing water, rippling silk. Swords of such stuff slice European mail, crusaders gape, yet the steel owes debt to humble iron bloomery hammered 1,000 years before, and to coal forests 30 million years dead. Coal, coke. Cast we near an age when human hunger meets deep carbon. In England's damp valleys charcoal dwindles, ironmasters turn to coal, but smoke pollutes crucibles until Abraham Darby coaks coal, bakes it into pure carbon sponge. Blast furnaces roar hotter, spit pig iron cheap as clay. Iron rails birth locomotives. Locomotives shrink planet. Steel skeleton climbs Chicago skyline. Concrete recasts Babylon in rebar. Each stride echoes first ember, keeper saving coal. First potter feeding kiln. Granite memory of the moon 1969 CE, a Saturn V roars. Turbines guzzling kerosene liquid oxygen. refined relics of primordial forest stone pressured into oil. On Lunar Mare Tranquillitatis, astronauts plant flag, collect basalt that cooled billions of years before hand axes. In glove fingertips they feel grain of a Northocid plagioclase, stone older than oceans. They tuck sample into titanium box and rocket home, repeating ritual of curious ape bending to pocket an unusual rock. From Lomequi flake to lunar core tube, gesture indoors. Silicon glass, sand modern chips etched by ultraviolet light onto silicon wafers are slabs of purified quartz. Sand metamorphosed, doped, intrinsically stone. Fiber, optic cables thread glass strands thinner than hair through global seabeds, blinking data as light pulses. We speak across oceans at speed of thought, because we mastered glass first for beads, then windows, then telescopes, then threads. The lullaby you are hearing may ride on photons, sliding inside tubes of cooled stone dust. Stone Age within and still. Surgeons challenging microsurgery open disposable kit labeled obese, 10 obsidian scalpel. The blade edge is 40 atoms thick. Steel cannot rival it. They incise cornea or harvest hair follicles with Pleistocene glass. Hikers carry ferrocerium rods, sparking flint cousins, to kindle campfires. Children skip pebbles across lake. Architects terrazzo lobby floors with marble chips. Lovers wear diamond rings older than life. Stone Age, Bronze Age, Iron Age, Silicon Age. Neat shelves in textbooks, messy drawers in reality. Each era overlays like transparent vellum upon underlayers never erased. Tonight as you drift towards sleep, the pillow under your skull might contain polyester, spun from oil pressed out of sandstone. The drywall beyond holds gypsum left by ancient sea. The smartphone beside you flickers through quartz screen. Beneath floorboards concrete rests. Ground limestone carbonated back to stone. We are nested inside geology the way a pearl nests inside oyster, layer upon accreted layer. Night's soft quarry, so lie back. Feel mattress springs echo forging hammers. Feel heartbeat tap like hammerstone on core. Imagine embers glowing behind eyelids. Clay pot simmering eel broth. Bronze spear tip heating bright for quench. Iron bloom leaking sparks under sledge. Bessemer converter vomiting comet. Spray. Arc furnace liquefying recycled cars. Laser sintering lunar regolith for future cabin bricks. From each flame drift scent resin, charcoal, coke, plasma. All kin of that first campfire flicker. Hear distant wheel rumble, solid beach disc. Spoked chariot, tread wheel crane, watermill bucket paddle, wheel steamer, geared locomotive driver, rubber tire, turbine rotor, hard drive platter, gyroscope in satellite, magnetic disc in MRI humming as doctor scans your dreaming brain. The wheel still turns. We still lace our hopes around its rim. Feel thread, stroke skin, sinew, flax, linen, Chinese silk, Peruvian vicuna, Egyptian cotton, nylon, carbon fiber tow. Someone is always twisting strands against thigh, humming, making future cloth. Taste stone salt crystals on lip, calcium in teeth, iron in blood. We carry minerals not as tools but as chemistry. Every nerve fires because sodium crosses basalt memories inside you. Should comfort lull you, surrender. Stone Age whispers cradle song older than species crack, flake, strike, spark, warm, rest. Flame dims, oxide cools, quern wheel hushes, but earth beneath remains patient. Sleep, traveller. Tomorrow we may quarry new dreams. Tonight let deep time mine you. Layer by quiet layer, until all that is hard softens into dawn. Close the shutters of your mind and feel the night thicken. Let yesterday's embers subside to a dull ruby. Let the hush expand until it blankets every ticking clock. You have travelled far already. Past flint sparks, past cord, impressed pots, past the first wheel's surprised turn and iron's furious hiss. Yet deep time is not finished with us. Its corridors twist onward, and every footfall ahead will still echo with the chink of stone. Slip deeper into the palette of shadows, where breaths lengthen, muscles knot, and the soul readies itself for another long drift down river. When you are lighter than thought, step once more into the current. Where writing rose to track barley, myth soon followed to explain why barley answered the plough at all. The first chronicles etched in pliant clay mention not only deeds of kings, but dreams of cosmic stone, a mountain split by a god's pick, a sky, rock hurled to found a city, a sacred cornerstone laid by primeval giants. Stone enters religion as both immovable witness and malleable signpost. We carve altars, anoint stels, build ziggurats, terraced staircases coaxing heaven downward. At Göbekli Tepe, 12-ton pillars up and hunter-gatherer expectations. Before wheat, before wheel, nomads quarry limestone, tug it uphill, and arrange monoliths in rings like vertebrae of a sleeping colossus. Carved foxes dance along the lintels. Vultures hold headless torsos, abstract arms wrap tapered shafts. Archaeologists find no village nearby, no hearth ash, no garbage mound, only ceremonial stone. That means memory came first, agriculture later. A wild surprise, perhaps it was not farming that birthed temples, but temples that lured people into staying long enough to stumble upon farming. In India's Deccan Plateau, basalt domes brewed under monsoon fog. Buddhists will later sculpt chaitya halls and viharas into their ribs. Stone turned hollow, so chants echo like thunder captive in God's throat. Each hammer stroke becomes a syllable of compassion. Meanwhile, Celtic druids set oak poles beside standing stones. Hebrew prophets erect uncarved stales. Yoruba priests anoint laterite thunder, stones said to fall during storms. Tools of Shango all point back to that first obsidian flake whose fracture lit memory with shock. Stone is not merely substrate, it is protagonist. Think of Medusa's gaze turning flesh to rock, of Lot's wife crystallized into salt, of Odysseus shaping olive trunk into marriage. Bed immovable. Each tale warns stone remembers what we forget. As centuries tumble into stacks, cities rise and collapse like breaths of clay lungs. Troy IX stands above Troy I, Rome refurbishes Etruscan drains, Mexico City floats upon Tenochtitlan, which itself rests on layers of Toltec chunampas and Teotihuacan rubble. Walk any old quarter and you stroll vertical time. Beneath asphalt hide granite sets, beneath granite hide muddy footpaths, beneath mud the footprints of aurochs. Consider Jerusalem. Under the golden sheen of Dome of the Rock lie Herodian courses, beneath them Hasmonean scarp, lower still, Jebusite flint terraces. Pilgrims kiss limestone smoothed by earlier pilgrims until stone seems soft as leather. Rainwater, channeled by Crusader cisterns, seeps deeper to touch bedrock scraped by flint picks of Bronze Age masons. Call it a lithic palimpsest text scraped, rewritten, never erased. In Xi'an a traveller might stand upon a Tang Dynasty brick rampart watching neon over storefronts selling graphene batteries, while 10 meters below archaeologists brush dust from Western Zhou rammed earth walls, and beneath that sits an echo of Shang timber palisade, now rotted into soil, but traced by charcoal ghosts. In each stratum lies a sentence about material progress: wood to rammed earth, earth to brick, brick to concrete, concrete clad in mirrored glass. Yet inside elevator shafts still lurk balancing stones, counterweights of ancient cunning. Cathedrals transmute stone into sound, Gothic ribs draw weight outward so walls can open like lace. Stained glass becomes molten rainbow. Organ pipes exhale wind captured from medieval forests. But foundations remain granite, dense, ancient, refusing to forget. When Michelangelo carves David, he chips away everything that is not slingshot hero. Marble quarried from Carrara once lay in Tethys Sea, compressed under Jurassic reefs, raised by Apennine uplifts, soared to block, hosted by oxen, awaited centuries because earlier sculptors deemed it flawed. The Renaissance, therefore, begins partly as redemption of a stone slab with hidden vein. Elsewhere, Jain artisans in Gwalior cut an entire cliff into 17-meter Tirthankaras, eyelids half closed, stone illusions of stillness. Easter Islanders coax tough into Moai, then walk them upright along dirt roads in somnambulist parade. Khmer chisels entangle sandstone into jungle root and vine at anchor. Every chisel strike echoes first flint berin scratching antler. Refine, refine, refine. Pigment lineage is equally mineral: red ochre hematite, yellow goethite, green malachite, blue lapis lazuli trudged from Afghanistan via camel caravan into illuminated manuscripts. Ultramarine paint, worth more than gold, drifts onto Virgin Mary's mantle, Each brushstroke is by weight a pilgrimage over mountain passes. Eventually chemists synthesized twin blues from cobalt and petroleum. Yet Pantone still names its flagship classic blue, harkening back to stone dust blown across centuries. Perspective, the trick of three-dimensional illusion on flat plaster, arrives in Quattrocento, Italy, with Brunelleschi's mathematical vanishing point, but it draws on Greek stonemasons' understanding of diminishing column in Tasis, and on Roman painters' trompe-l'œil wall frescoes at Pompeii. Stone taught eye to correct for gravity's distortion, long before geometry traced it. Galileo's telescopes gather starlight through glass melted from quartz sand. Lenses polished with tin oxide rest inside brass tubes. Counterweights are lead, smelted stone. Newton sets glass prism in sunlight, splits color wheel. Later he tests theories by dropping lead spheres from mast heads. Every early experiment is cunning redeployment of landscape. Barometer hides mercury, or of cinnabar, Leyden jar stores charge in glass, lined stoneware, coal-fired steam engine drives pistons sheathed in hammered iron. Geology emerges as a discipline when James Hutton walks Scottish cliffs reading strata like paragraphs. He deduces no vestige of a beginning, no prospect of an end. The very stones become books. Deep time turns from myth into measurement. Soon Darwin decodes fossils in limestone, linking stone record to living lineage. Without flint fossils there is no origin of species. Without quartz clocks inside chronometers, Darwin's beagle cannot measure longitude to trace where finches change. Photography, meanwhile, harnesses silver halide crystals mined from Mexican sierras. Nitric acid dissolves argentite. Collodion plates capture sun. Images fix in hypothiosulfate, itself from sulfur ore. A cave painter's dream of freezing moment becomes reality. Stone salts translated into memory. Radioactivity, discovered in pitch-blende shards from St. Joachimsthal, reveals atoms are not indivisible stones, but whirling solar systems. Marie Curie coaxes radium glowing blue like fairy lanterns, yet radium is dangerous promise, leading to both brachytherapy for tumors and luminous watch dials that poison painters. Stone continues mentoring and menacing. Coal is lithified forest, compressed under carboniferous swamps for 300 million years. Once ignited in steam boilers, trains span continents, cotton mills devour fiber, telegraph wires hum. Oil ancient plankton and tomb beneath salt domes, gushes in Beaumont or Baku, fueling kerosene lamps, then petrochem engines. Plastic sprouts from refinery towers, a new synthetic stone polymer chains that mold into any form but refuse to rot. Packaging, medical tubing, credit card, vinyl record, all ghost blossoms of Mesozoic plankton. We call it convenience. Earth calls it exhumed sunlight. Yet deep within this fossil carnival, stone persists literally beneath our feet. Basement bedrock. Figuratively as caution, coal miners follow seams but also read canaries, memorize roof sound. Oil platforms bolt into seabeds drilled by diamond. Tipped bits Ev's diamond is carbon harder than steel. And when petroleum leaks, beaches recall Stone-Age tar pits. Pitchblende again, chain reaction splits uranium-235 neutrons ricochet. Einstein's Eaton-Massey dive leaps out of equation into blinding bloom above desert floor. Trinity test vitrifies sand into green glass. Trinitit, a new rock species. 1,000-year future archaeologists might dig that stratum and wonder why silicon and L3 valued isotopes spike. Later, nuclear reactors harness slower fission, boiling water inside zirconium, clad fuel rods. Spent fuel becomes glass logs. Stone imagined to lock radiation for 10 millennia. Fusion research melts tungsten walls with magnetically tethered plasma. Inside each tokamak pulse hides dream of star in jar, but jar remains stubborn rock of uncertainty. If success comes, it will birth new geological layer, spill of helium ash and superconducting coils forged from rare earth minerals deep, mined in Jiangxi clay. Sand again, melted, doped. Sliced into wafers the thickness of fingernails, printed with transistor mazes narrower than viruses. Billions of logic gates, flip charge states, billions of times per second. World's conversations funnel through, yet each microchip begins in quartz vein miles under Earth's crust. Smartphones hide rare earth yttrium, neodymium magnets, copper traces, gold bonding wires hammered thinner than spider silk. Lithium for batteries bubbles from Andean brines where flamingos wade. The digital cloud is cloud only in marketing. Physically it is mountain range of minerals sorted by algorithmic appetite. Data centers exhale heat. Engineers quarry basalt to stack as concrete footings supporting racks. Fiber, optic cables, hair, thin glass. Cross seabeds with protective steel armoring. They join continents the way obsidian exchange once joined Pleistocene valleys. Longevity of digital memory, however, is fragile. Magnetic domains flip. Laser pits degrade, file formats rot. So scientists laser etch data in quartz glass plates, predicted to last 1 billion years. Synthetic stone library. The earliest sample encoded King James Bible, next holds Wikipedia, tomorrow may embed heartbeat of planet. Stone returns as final archivist. Honor our own geology. Skyscrapers, dams, highway embankments, railway ballast, concrete seawalls, underground metros, subway tiles. These conglomerate into technofossil megastructure. Future stratigraphers might dub it Anthropocene rebar mesh, microplastic shards, fly, ash spherules, chicken bones, isotopic signature of nuclear tests. Beneath, still older stone, above, maybe nothing but wind. Urbanites seldom meet raw bedrock, yet they walk on quarried marble steps, lean on granite countertops, tap phone screens of alumino, silicate glass. Stone is invisibly intimate. Calcium in bones originates from Cretaceous chalk, iron in hemoglobin forged in supernovas. We metabolize cosmic rubble. Look upward through skylight. Meteor showers sprinkle silicate beads. Iron, nickel belied sometimes survive, embedding farmland. Private firms plot asteroid mining missions. Pluck platinum from 16 Ceti, haul water ice from Ceres into cis-lunar depots. Spacecraft themselves carry solar panels grown from purified sand, heat shields of carbon phenolic, a type of fabricated stone. Mars rovers drill regolith, sniff for perchlorates. Lunar landers melt moondust with microwaves to test sintered bricks for future habitats. Terraforming proposals read like Stone Age on planetary scaled crash comets to thicken atmosphere, spread cyanobacteria to exhale oxygen, later build basalt fiber domes from lava tube outputs. Each step recapitulates prehistory: water, fire, stone, then green. Dyson swarm megastructures would mine mercury into solar collectors, turning planet into rubble chain. Cosmic ambition remains geological. Project 10,000 years deep. Time archivists bury steel vaults lined with ceramic tiles pictogramming radiation dangers. They design menacing stones shaped like thorns to scare future beings from nuclear waste fields. Linguists argue, will spikes suffice when language shifts? Maybe stone grimaces will convey dread better than words. So they carve basalt, menacing earthworks. Stone again as sentinel. 1 million years hence African Rift Valley widens. Red Sea expands into ocean. East African plate drifts with fossils of Homo sapiens perched in sediment. Glacial cycles scar North America. Concrete cities crumble. Only granite memorial pedestals remain, inscriptions weathered away. Silica microchip fossils survive inside anaerobic clay. Trinitite lens persists as faint green seam. Plastic depolymerizes into waxy goop, returns carbon to soil. Obsidian scalpels still sharp inside sealed surgical kits. Maybe descendants, evolved from raccoon or crow, find them. 1 billion years hence, sun brightens, oceans steam. Plate tectonics slow, carbon cycle halts, granite continents erode. Only zircons born in Hadean remain. Along with buried ferro, concrete lumps inside what was once Amazon basin. The Stone Age outlives us, because stone is patience personified. 7 billion years hence Earth, swallowed by sun's red giant limb. Its silicates vaporize into circumstellar plume. Minerals recombine in cooling dust. Some condense into chondrules, hitching comets into new star systems. Perhaps in a distant nebula, a pebble formed from Sahara quartz, and Buckingham Palace marble, and Black Mesa basalt coalesces inside protoplanet dust. It drifts for eons until curious appendage picks it up, chips a flake, and ponders its fracture conchoid. The wheel of night turns. Our journey returns to campfire. Here kilns cooling, presses clicking save, telescopes whirring to track meteors. Feel pulse of basalt deep under mattress springs, magnetic swirl of hematite in blood. You have walked from ochre, smeared caves to skylabs. Your footprints cross all eras and none, because the Stone Age never left. It lingers in the grit of spinach, in the sand between book pages, in the chalk dust of classroom boards, in the bite of pencil lead against paper. Close your eyes. Imagine that first sapient child kneeling by river, striking 2 stones until spark leaps. Imagine that child glimpses you across time, marveling at device glowing star, milk in your hand, unaware it, too, is stone mosaiced by cunning. Across 90,000 generations, the look you share says, "Is it not wonderful what hands can coax from earth?" Let that wonder float above you like ember sparks. Let shoulders sink. Inhale, tasting hidden caves, cedar sawdust, diesel smoke, lunar regolith. Exhale through parted lips, placing them upon some ancient flute. Breath quavers, becomes wind inside empty bare skull, once used as drum, becomes roar of blast furnace, becomes hush of data server, becomes cosmic microwave whisper. Sleep now. If dreams arrive, may they paint you spirals on cavern ceilings, each spiral a century, each century a heartbeat, each heartbeat a stone tap, until timeline itself curls like ammonite fossil resting in palm. You may wake tomorrow under electric ceiling, but your spine will still remember granite bed of distant ancestors, and the planet beneath will remember you as future stone. Sleep well, vault keepers. Tonight's relics are locked away, the stone keys turned. Let your dreams catalogue the unanswered riddles, and when the lid creaks open tomorrow, we'll unseal the next mystery together,